You know, when somebody steps in a Ferrari dealership or a luxury car store, they don't haggle on the price. They don't ask a lot of questions. They don't have a lot of objections. They want to get that car because of what that car represents, the identity and the status that that car brings. While at the same time, in a Honda Civic or low level car dealership, people have a lot of questions, a lot of objections, and it's just so fucking hard for you as an agent to make that sell. And the same thing happens in the online space with all of these offers. You got people who are selling $30,000 worth of like offers with no objections. And then you got people struggle to sell a $1,000 offer. So what is this psychology that luxury brands understand that founders and experts in the online space don't? I want to break this down in this video because I think this is literally going to unlock, and it did for me, it's going to unlock a different sort of level in your mind when it comes to selling an offer, when it comes to selling a program, a course, one-on-one coaching, or doing brand deals. Because these principles, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of examples in this video, these principles are the exact principles that the top brands in the world use. And I want to break them down for you in this video. So, how to use psychology to sell luxury products. Let's get into it. So the funnel gurus, the funnel boys, as I like to call them, they basically tell you to sell the wrong way because they teach you to identify the prospect's pain points, do a needs analysis, all of that, overcome objections, stack bonuses on top of fucking bonuses, and I'm not gonna drop any names here, but you know who I'm talking about. And essentially create urgency with fake scarcity. But all of it is designed to convince someone to buy. Whereas what we want in terms of building a luxury brand is to not have to convince or beg someone to fucking buy from us. We want those people that are like, yeah, I need to actually buy from you without any objections. So the thing is, luxury brands don't do any of this, right? Hermes, for example, doesn't run webinars. Rolex doesn't overcome objections because they don't fucking need to. Because they understand something that the business world has completely forgotten, in my opinion, which is luxury is not sold through logic. This is not about needs, right? So if you want to sell a premium offer, a premium product, it's not about the needs. It's not about the ROI, the return on investment. It is about fucking desire. And desire operates by completely different rules, right? And I'm going to break them down. Because if you're trying to convince people to buy, you've already lost. I see so many creators hop on sales calls, have conversations with leads, with prospects, and this goes for every industry. And they try to convince people to buy from them. But that's the minute you act like that, you don't have leverage. And that's not how a luxury brand operates. So the thing is, if you're in that space, you're playing the wrong fucking game because the goal isn't to overcome objections, it's to create desire so strong that the objections don't even exist. These are going to be the 4 levers of luxury psychology because luxury brands use 4 psychological levers to command premium prices without having to, again, convince anyone of anything. And every single one of them applies to how you position yourself as a founder, as a brand, as a content creator, as a coach. So this applies to everything. So this is the first lever, desire over needs. You have to understand that it's all about desire, not the actual needs. So the marketing industry is so obsessed with pain points, right? And needs analysis. Find the problem, agitate the problem, and then present your solution. This is literally what every single fucking guru is telling you out there. Like, you got to find the problem, you got to extend the gap, stretch the gap, agitate the problem, and then position yourself as the solution. And that kind of works if you want to operate at a sort of like average level. But if you want to take things further, it's more than that. Because all of this right here, this is logical. Like, it makes sense. But it positions you as a commodity, right? So if you're someone watching right now, if you're an expert, and if you want to take it to the next level, if you want to sell premium, you got to make a shift here. Because here's what luxury actually understands. Nobody actually needs a 600 pounds t-shirt. Nobody actually needs that. They desire that t-shirt. Nobody needs a 50,000 pound watch, right? You can get a watch for 50 bucks that tells time. It's not about the actual need of it, it's about the desire. And the moment you start talking about needs, you're competing on utility, and utility can always be found cheaper. So, again, the moment you start talking about the needs, you're going to be positioned as a commodity in the market. You're going to compete on utility. And that's why a lot of people, you might get them now, they will tell you, I'm looking at other options, I'm looking at other coaches, I'm talking to more people. Why? Because they're after the better deal, basically. Because they just compare the features, right? They just compare like the utility. So the thing with needs is they're rational, logical, they can be compared. The thing with desire, on the other hand, this is all emotional, irrational. And this is beyond any kind of comparison. And this is what you have to optimize for. Because the needs based selling invites obviously price objections and comparisons and all of this, while desire based positioning fucking eliminates them. And this is what you want. So people don't buy Ferraris because they need transportation, right? Again, you could get a super cheap car. It's not about that. They don't buy Rolexes because they need to tell time. They buy because of desire for status, identity, feeling, and meaning. So all of these things that I just mentioned right now, the minute you start to sell these things, that's when you completely separate yourself from the rest of the market. Don't just sell a feature. Don't just sell a product. Sell these things, because the product is just the vehicle for the actual emotion, right? So if you right now you have an offer, stop positioning that offer around what people needs and start positioning it around what they actually desire. So ask yourself, what do they want to become? How do they want to feel? What identity are they trying to step into? Because again, the funnel bros will tell you to solve a problem, but luxury tells you to fulfill a fantasy, right? In this whole space, yes, you do need to solve problems. But if you want to go premium, if you want to separate yourself from the market and charge 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 for your offer, for your products, you need to start fulfilling a fantasy. And let's unpack this. So, a business coach, for example, selling how to get more clients, because I want to make this relatable. If you sell how to get more clients, you're competing on needs, and there are 10,000, if not more, other people saying the same exact thing. Whereas a founder selling, become the most magnetic person in your industry is selling desire. See the difference? They're playing a completely different game, and obviously at a completely different price point. So that's the lever one, desire over need. Lever two, identity over product. So again, another example from a different brand. When somebody buys a Chanel bag, they're not buying leather and stitching, they're buying who they become when they carry it. The product is just a prop, right? So the real purchase is identity. The real purchase is that status. It's not about the bag itself. And this applies to Rolex, this applies to cars, this applies to every sort of luxury brand that you know and that you admire. It's not about just the product, because you could buy a way cheaper version of the product. Let's be realistic. You buy the fucking product because it brings you that status. You buy the product because every single person is going to look at you and they're going to be like, wow, he has that. Or she has this. She has this bag. She has this Chanel bag. It's not about the actual bag. It's about what the bag actually like transforms you into on an identity level, right? So that's lever two. And again, luxury brands understand that humans are constantly asking one question: who am I? And every purchase is an attempt to answer that question. The bag, the watch, the car, these are identity markers, status signals, ways of telling the world and yourself who you are, right? So the minute you transition from selling just a product or selling some features, selling utility, to selling desire and selling status, that's when you go premium. So people buy identity, not products, even at the lower levels, right? They think they buy products, but they essentially buy a confirmation for their identity. So every purchase is a statement about who they are. The product, again, is just a prop. The identity is the real offer. So premium prices are justified by identity transformation. So with this, what does that mean on a practical level? You have to sell the identity. The offer is just a vehicle. And I'm telling this to every single one of my clients. Like, I got people, I'm working with founders, I'm working with fitness coaches, people in the fashion industry, real estate, you name it, like you name the niche. Basically, we don't just sell an offer like a basic offer. We use that like a Trojan horse, like the vehicle. We essentially sell the identity that people in that industry desire. So the thing is, luxury salespeople don't act like salespeople. They act like expert advisors helping you step into an identity you already want, right? So they're not convincing you to buy, they're helping you become who you actually want to become. So it's again fulfilling that fantasy. And as a creator, that's your fucking role. That's your role as a creator. You're not selling a program, you're guiding an actual transformation. You're providing a deep transformation. And the moment you see yourself that way, everything about how you show up with content, how you create content changes. Because then you understand, I'm not just selling a commodity. I'm not trying to be like everybody else in the market. Fuck no. I'm selling a deep transformation, right? So regardless of the industry you're in, it could be fitness, you could be a lawyer, whatever, real estate agent. You use the offer as the vehicle to get people through the door, but you sell that deep core transformation that you are supposed to know exactly what that is for the clients in your market, right? So again, as an example, a fitness coach selling lose 20 pounds is just selling a product. But instead of fitness coach selling become someone who walks into any room with undeniable physical presence, is selling identity. Out of these two, which one do you think can charge more? Obviously, the second one, right? Because on a base level, on a foundational level, it's the same transformation. It's still physical, but it's framed completely different on a psychological level, right? So one is just selling some features, a protocol, whatever. Another one is selling identity. And this can be applied to any niche, right? Now, for the third lever, you need to understand exclusivity has got to be over availability. Because human beings crave what's scarce. This is the way we function as human beings, right? We want what we cannot easily have. And the harder something is to access, the more we value it. And this is just essentially wired into us as human beings. So luxury brands engineer scarcity. I'm gonna highlight this because it's super important. Luxury brands actually engineer scarcity. Hermes, for example, has a waitlist for the Birkin bag. You cannot just buy one, you have to be selected, right? You cannot just walk up and just buy it. Why do you think the hype around the Birkin bags is so huge? Because there's an actual waitlist around it. You almost need an invitation, an exclusive invitation. You need to be selected by them to buy. This is how you create scarcity. This is how you essentially engineer that desire. Ferrari, for example, limits production on purpose. They could sell more cars for sure, but they choose not to because scarcity is the actual point with luxury. Scarcity increases perceived value. Exclusivity creates desire and status. So if you go like, yeah, I'm available to everyone constantly, this is just valuable to no one. Because if you're constantly available, if you're constantly like there for everybody, are you super valuable? Not really. Whereas waitlist, selection, limits, this is all psychological leverage. This again goes back to this main point. You need to engineer scarcity. You could sell a course, you could sell an offer, a brand deal, whatever it is. You need to engineer that scarcity. So again, engineer exclusivity, not fake scarcity, but real selectivity. So who do you say no to? Are you saying no or are you saying yes to everybody that asks to work with you? What are your actual criteria, right? How do people earn access to you? This is a huge thing. A lot of people are so available because deep down they think they're not really worth a lot of money and they don't see themselves to be high status. And the potential clients can tell, right? So how do people earn access to you? Or do you just give access away for free or give access away to everybody? Because limited spots, if you do all of this, you will be able to engineer exclusivity. Limited spots, but actually mean it, right? So there are a lot of people saying, oh, only 50 spots. No, actually mean that shit. So if you say 7 spots, do 7 spots, right? Application process, before you even talk. Qualification criteria, you actually enforce, right? Saying no publicly, so people see you're being selective. These are all the things that you can do to engineer that exclusivity. Because the most powerful thing you can do for your positioning as a luxury brand is to turn people away. But you got to do that in a genuine way, right? Like, don't try to fake it. You have to own that, right? When someone sees you reject clients who aren't the right fit, they assume you must be incredible. And that's luxury psychology, right? Because again, if you're an online coach and let's say people reach out, if you say yes to everyone, knowing deep down they're not qualified, and I made this mistake before, you're going to be perceived, because we're talking about perception here in the market, you're going to be perceived as a commodity. Like, this guy works with everyone. You have to be willing to say no to people. And sometimes this might mean, you lose out on some money, but that's cool because this is all about positioning. If you reach the right people, then you will make that kind of money that you want to make and you deserve to make. But we're talking luxury positioning. You cannot say yes to everyone. Again, luxury psychology. Lever 4. This is the story over specs, which I'm very big on. As you guys know, probably on the channel, I'm very big on essentially telling your personal story and creating a narrative, creating a story. So it's not just the product, it's not just a cold program or fucking course, it's got something behind it, right? So story over specs. This is the fourth lever. Because luxury is not sold on features. It's sold on a story, heritage, craftsmanship, myth, and the narrative behind the actual object, right? Because features, again, they can be compared and commoditized, but stories are unique and incomparable, right? So if you have an emotional narrative, this is way stronger than a rational argument, because heritage, struggle, meaning, they all create premium value, right? So this is why I talk so much about the founder story and character, because your origin, your struggle, your why, your enemy, this is the narrative that makes price comparisons irrelevant. If you actually have all of these things included in your brand and in your ecosystem, in your marketing, in your messaging, the minute you start to bring to the table, like, okay, this is my story, this is my struggle, this is the narrative behind like everything that I'm doing, you start to connect with people on a deep human level. So at that point, nobody can compare, like, it's not like they're going to compare your story to this other guy's story. The only thing they can compare is the features or like the utility of it. This is why I said earlier, do not just sell fucking utility. The minute you bring the narrative and the founder story, that's when you win. Because when someone understands your story, what you've lived, what you stand against, why you do this is very important. They're not going to compare you to other coaches or other creators because you're in a category of your own. And that's where premium pricing lives. If this is the market right here, and this is you, everybody in this space is going to charge a typical amount, right? But in your position, if you position like category of 1, in here you can charge a lot more because there's no competition. The whole point of positioning, premium positioning, is to eliminate or reduce competition completely, right? Or as much as possible. So again, origin story, where you came from, what you overcame, enemy, what you stand against, what you're fighting as a brand, as a creator, mission, the bigger movement, right? Not just the offer. Forget the offer. What's the actual bigger movement behind what you're doing, behind the brand? And last but not least, what's the transformation? How you became who you are right now. Because if you want to charge premium prices, you got to stop selling like a fucking marketer, like one of these like funnel boys that just try to get you into a program and tell you all about, like, yeah, we have 55,000 video modules and features. Stop selling like that and start positioning like a luxury brand. Because look, even with these things that I'm saying right now, you have to understand, ultimately, you cannot just do these tactics. You have to, this is all about, honestly, becoming someone who embodies this. Because if you're internally operating from scarcity and neediness, all the exclusivity and tactics in the world will not work, because people will feel the incongruence. People will feel the incongruence. This is the problem in the space right now. Everybody's trying to sell you on tactics, on systems, on funnels, on VSLs, whatever. But you have to, first of all, build the brand around who you are, build the products around the narrative, around the story. And with everything that we talked about for selling luxury, you have to understand that first, it takes an internal sort of shift. You need to genuinely perceive yourself as a creator, as a brand, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as luxury. Like, you need to look at yourself like the whole brand you're building, like, you know what, not everybody deserves access to me. And, at one point, this might seem too, arrogant. It might seem a bit crazy, like a bit weird. Like, why would I act like that? I want money. No, the thing is, you don't need to appeal to everyone. And if you want to genuinely be perceived as the icon in your industry, as an important brand and person, you cannot be available constantly. You cannot do what everybody's doing. You got to be unique. You got to be the idol. You got to be the icon. You got to go luxury. But again, this takes an internal shift, first and foremost. And then you apply all of this and you can build whatever. At that point, it doesn't, like, the offer doesn't even matter, right? So take these principles, apply them, go through my other videos. And if you're interested in actually building an iconic brand, premium brand, and actually build it around who you are, around your story, without having to convince people to buy, DM me on Instagram. I'm going to drop the link down below. And I'm going to work with you one-on-one so we can build a brand around you.